couple of messages, and Kofi Bento wants us to pay attention to the fact that those who are criticizing Atuguba, saying that maybe his role in the petition, blah, blah, he says that you should all remember that it's Atuguba who presided over the CI 94 case that Kofi Bento and Co. brought to the court, which heavily amended the election rules, allowing parties to be given pink sheets at every level, eventually leading to MPP's big win and the basis of McManu's premature declaration. So let's not look at the judges according to some of the rulings that we see with political eyes.
I agree.
Okay, and you've got quite a lengthy one to say about my take. Thank you very much. I've got loads of messages from you on my take, but my take is not discussed on the show. It's just my take, and it's as simple as that. But thank you for all the commendations. Loads of them. Thank you. Now, we know a couple of things have happened as far as the matters of Galamsey are concerned, but with the limited time we have, maybe we deal with the take a cue from Kweku and deal with the Takoradi, fire, gas explosion quickly, and then we'll deal with the Galamsey matter as well. So we know that at least some 50 people, or now we know the number was more than that, about 52 or so people, including personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service, had to be hospitalized. Some of them we don't know if they are still there, but quite a good number should still be there in the western region town of Sekondi after a gas explosion on Tuesday morning. Now, we are made to understand that there is this particular Chinese company that is located on the Sekondi Takoradi road that had, where the explosion happened. There was a tanker that had come to offload gas, and in the process, this happened. We have had a Deputy Energy Minister, Mohammed Amin Adam, go there to ask the National Petroleum Authority, NPA, to withhold the license of the gas distribution company for its negligence, and saying that these things are not going to be allowed to continue to happen. He reports that 152 persons were injured as far as his checks were concerned, and that we are in a new regime, and that the companies which were found to these things happened within their premises were not going to be let to go scot-free. I'll start with George on this. How do we deal with some of these matters in such a way that the occurrences of such disasters, so to speak, do not become this regular?
Something. You are always confused when one is confronted with these things day in, day out. And so sometimes you even want to join the clarion call for some regulation in the system, which I would say is not necessarily the best practice. For instance, anytime these things happen, then we start fishing around and start complaining about why people were issuing licenses, location of these industries and companies and things like that. We'll talk about it to some extent, and when everything dies down, maybe the only thing that will keep reminding us is if the people are not lucky and they have scars on themselves, then when they wake up in the morning and they are bathing, they remember that this was, the rest of us forget, and it's business as usual. Institutions in this country are simply not up to the task, and we must pay attention to them. I cannot understand why, for us here, everything, including things that will take our lives, become business. I remember when the June 3 happened, our ministers went around the length and breadth and said there was an audit across the length and breadth of the country with cameras, media following from one filling station to another. We are revoking your license, we are doing this. What happened to all that? We are back to square one. I'm sure if you went to each and every one of those filling stations, they are still in operation. Nothing different has happened.
Is it not because sometimes some of those comments, like the minister has just done, are just premature because you do not know the real facts?
Thank you.
So you cannot say they are guilty of anything. You can't really do anything.
That's why I'm saying
them.
that really, we treat everything as business as usual. So yes, there's a disaster. Minister goes and puts together a few English words. Everybody is placated. We are very happy. We go back home. 3 days down the line, some other event take our minds off, and we go back to square one. And this is very scary because we are talking about the minister is 152. Is that right?
Yes.
Next time it will be 300. Next time it will be 1,000. But we shouldn't allow even one person to face this kind of challenge. What is the challenge? I am not an expert. I am not there. But I know that in other parts of the world, even the procedure, the culture you have to follow to be able to go through the simple issue of dislodging gas is rigorous enough. Follow checks and balances at each point. You can have like 8 people in a chain, each and every one just making sure that everything is on point.
We have unemployment.
We have unemployment. When planes land and they want to refuel, look at all the things that go with it. People going up there to check this valve. Why are we not doing the same to these kinds of things? And it is something that is not something that we don't know. Look, you go to filling stations and then they have a long write-up on the wall as to what to follow when you must fuel must. But do we have that is happening? Even us as individuals, you see somebody drive to a fuel station and his engine is on, and the guy serving the fuel is not telling him that put it in. Sometimes it's forgetfulness because these days you have cars that you just and then it starts. So what is wrong? You get to a filling station, your engine is on. Even the person filling the petrol will not say, "Oh, excuse me, can you put off your engine?" Nothing. So our attitude at every end does not dispose us.
But what should happen to reduce the occurrence?
You see, that's what I'm saying. That for me, I have been traveled abroad and I've seen filling stations on top of underneath hotels, underneath clinics. But you see, over there, they are able to do that with confidence because they know that they go the extra mile to ensure that safety measures are taken. We want to apply the same thing here because I remember when June 3rd happened. I was one of those people who agreed with the EPA boss that, it doesn't really matter what you provide. But I'm not beginning to revise my notes because it clearly shows that we are not up to that standard yet. And therefore, even the so-called audit that we're supposed to have done, if we really did, then we should go back to the drawing board. Some licenses must be taken. Some filling stations must be taken. And yet, when these things happen, look, IPS students, you see there's a filling station where Sanka used to be. You know, the students actually once went on demonstration to keep it. What happened? Nobody listened. Let's fire come out there.
Why should the authority listen if there's no basis for that demonstration? The only basis is that the filling station is closer to them.
What we are saying is that, Samson, the events that we are facing now, so we want them to go and discharge gas or petrol, then it blows because we don't go according to safety. Then it's near the student hostel. The whole hostel burns down and several students there. They will cry and then your TV will change its logo into black and start playing dodges. That should not happen. I am saying that we should go back and do audits and ensure that they're proper. And we must learn to sanction people. Sanction people properly when these things happen. Anything less than that, as
a member of parliament, when you hear that these things are happening and they're happening a bit regularly, and you hear all the comments like he says, but again, I'm asking myself, why are we acting as if accidents don't happen? Couldn't it be an accident?
Yes, accidents do happen, but there are some accidents that are clearly avoidable. I see all these things as arising out of our lack of respect for human life. We just don't value human life in this country. Because if we did, I don't see why we cannot put in place measures that would significantly reduce the occurrence of these incidents. Happened at Circle, then subsequently at Labadi. There was some fire incidents in Tema, oil refinery.
There have been quite a number of them,
and then, of course, the most recent one in Takoradi. I happened to have accompanied the Western Regional Minister on Wednesday to tour the hospitals and the accident scene, because you know secondary Takoradi is my constituency. So when the incident happened on Tuesday, I had to quickly rush down to go and see for myself what was happening. And you get amazed. I mean, merely discharging gas into a receptacle causes this extent of damage, because we don't apply the rules that is supposed to govern these things properly.
So what should
we don't
happen?
have the personnel to ensure that those who are coming in to discharge these gaseous material do it in the right manner. Yet we have unemployment. I just don't understand. I mean, it's akin to this Galamsey menace that we are all experiencing in this country. We have mines officials who are just not there to ensure that people do not go onto our environment to damage them through the exploitation of these resources illegally. Yet we have a bunch of people working on the streets with no jobs. Why can't we just recruit people to do the work that we have laws to regulate?
Maybe they don't have the skills for that particular.
We can train them.
So let's train.
We can train them and give them jobs. I think the minister's call is in the right direction. Of course, we don't sanction enough in this country. I mean, people do things and next couple of days we gloss over it. We don't even prosecute. We don't hold them accountable, and it keeps recurring. So if we begin to apply these sanctions, withdrawal of revoking licenses, that have been issued to people who transport these commodities, they will begin to sit up.
And what happens to the victims? And some of these are your constituents. What should happen to them? Because often it happens and they are left on their own.
Yes, it comes down to the same thing. We have insurance laws in this country that requires people to take policies over these institutions. Do they? Does the Insurance Commission ensure that these establishments have adequate insurance cover for some of these things that are likely to occur? I mean, I've had to, as it were, consistent with the work of an MP, pay medical bills. I know that the Western Regional Coordinating Council has made some arrangements to pay the medical bills of the affected persons.
But the minister said that the company should take.
Yes, I was coming there. In the event that the company is unable to foot the entire bills, of course, I mean, the first recourse is to get the company to pay for the medical bills of the affected personnel. But in the unlikely event that the funds are not there, because you should bear in mind that the company has also suffered some huge damage.
Right.
Their entire production line is being wiped off. So it is incumbent on government, where appropriate, to support. And that arrangement, I know, has been made. But the first recourse is for the company to bear the cost of medical expenses for these. It was only by divine grace that nobody has died so far. Because if you see the accident scene, it's amazing. People did not lose their lives, and we as a country should work to ensure that these things do not happen again.
Okay. What will you say?
I'll take it from there.
The minister seems to be very clear in his mind that it's an act of negligence on the part of the company.
Well, he has some expertise in this area. That's why the Deputy Minister for Energy, Mr. Amin. But touching on the last point, we should look at attitude. This one, if the pictures that started coming were credible, initially there were not many people there. The people trooped there and they were taking pictures.
There was a second explosion.
They were taking pictures. This thing must stop. When there is disaster start, that is where people go and take pictures. You never know what else can explode. And then they were retreating. It was too late for them. That is very important. Because we have enough laws, legal and institutional framework. I'm looking at the Energy Commission Act. A lot of provisions in there. And I think the point really is not so much about the fact that we don't have expertise or experts. It's just enforcement. These commissions are established in the capital city. They sit in their offices, with limited persons going around occasionally. but the provisions are here. We even as citizens should enter into the location they call the designated zones and ask them to show us whether they've complied with this law. There should be diagrams clearly discernible at conspicuous places, easy for all of us to understand what they mean.
The workers themselves complain that the company doesn't seem to, comply with what is needed to ensure their safety.
And something, people will always want their liberties. That is why institutions are established, funded by the taxpayers' money, to ensure that there is a extent to which we can have our liberties, all for our own good and safety. And these workers, as we keep on saying, they need jobs. Sometimes they can even risk working under such poor conditions. The UK and so on, when the work health and safety people are coming to your workplace, it's just like maybe the whole police force in that country are coming over. Everybody, and the first thing that is a part of the instructions when you are employed is to take you through the health and safety rules. When you enter the offices, is one of the first things you see when you enter such offices. We don't care about these things. So until we take these things into consideration and comply, wherever there's no supervision, human beings will do the very thing that will even cause them to die.
What will you tell the victims where we know clearly that most often, and this is likely to happen in this situation also, like he says, pay their medical bills, end of the matter, then they are gone?
Yeah, there's also part of it. Elsewhere, some of the companies will be made to pay millions. One as a deterrence.
Only the companies, well. The state may have some responsibility here.
The state as well. Energy Commission, the Utilities Commission, they should all, even an environmental agency. How do they go through all this? Because the consistency is confirming that people are just not doing the work for which we pay them for.
Okay.
And wherever there's no supervision, work doesn't get done. And if the state is just going to look, and it's so painful that some people even die when they were nowhere near where the activities. I mean, one of the ministers whose sister had to lose her dear life in a matter like this.
Sitting in her office.
Yes. So if we don't take serious action against this, it will recur, people will die, and pittance will be paid, and that is it. If the Energy Commission is not going to work, sometimes some of the institutions, then we should disband them.
Okay.
So that we know that we are even left on our own.
That would be terrible, wouldn't it?
Oh, well,
without them, then it's going to be worse.
Call on them to do more than they are doing now.
Right.
Because I think that is a failure on the part of some of these state institutions.
But again, elsewhere, lawyers will be standing by to assist without being invited. Here in Ghana, that is against the Legal Professions Act.
Tell you are touting.
And so, yes, you'll be in trouble. But elsewhere, and here too, you, until they have made some payment upfront, you are not ready to go and assist them.
We do a lot of these things without initial payment.
Right.
And now, at the last bar conference, it came up.
Right.
Even now, before your license, it will get to a time that before your license is renewed, you must establish
that you do this number of pro bono
cases that you have done. I think we should try and enforce it.
Yeah, but the challenge is that if nobody comes to me with pro bono cases, how do I do that?
The legal aid board will give you some. Okay. Yes. Let's hear from Kweku.
No. I associate myself with what has been said here. There's nothing to add.
Okay.
This recycling of an issue.
Okay. The June fire and flood disaster actually got some group together now. They are putting together a very formidable group to see what they can do in some of these situations. And very soon, I think they're going to come very powerfully on this country and assist some of these situations. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we will deal with the matters arising from the Galamsey discussions. Ochehine is demanding an apology from the BNI. The military says that it's wrong. It's wrong for anybody or any BNI report to suggest that their men are involved in protecting illegal miners. We'll be right back.